The absolute worst part about the CFA program is that after you pass all the exams, you become so much smarter that it's really difficult to have conversations or connect with regular human beings that are left around out there. They are just so inferior to you that you no longer want to associate with these lesser people. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. That doesn't happen. Actually, probably the opposite happens. You actually probably realize how dumb you are relative to all the knowledge that exists out there. But seriously, the real worst part about the CFA program is that while you're studying, you become so keenly aware of how efficient you can be with every minute of every day, since you have to try to learn as much as possible during your free time, that you're sort of cursed in the future. You're cursed while you're in the program and still studying because you either have to be studying with every available minute that you have, and not only are you efficient with that time, you spend less time doing the other things in your life. You become more efficient there too, to allow yourself more minutes that you can study with. But also while you're in the program, you become very guilty of any minutes that you spend throughout your days and weeks where you're not studying, because you know that you could be progressing towards learning all the information you'll need to potentially pass your upcoming exam, but you're not doing that because you're hanging out with some friends or looking at the stars or watching TV or something else that isn't improving your financial genius. Now, you could argue that all of that is actually a good thing because that additional stress and awareness about your own efficiency means that you're gonna be able to study better and learn more and potentially pass the exams. And that all is true. It's just that you can never relax anymore. And so you really lose, in my opinion, you lose a part of the life that you once had, where you could, for me, it was like play video games for 3 days straight and not have to worry about the fact that you're really not progressing or becoming better in any sense of yourself. You're just sort of being and doing things that are enjoyable in the immediate term, but not beneficial for your future. And so the way that manifests in the future after the program, and this is the real kicker, this is really the worst thing about having gone through the CFA program, is that all this sort of carries over into the rest of your life, not just the 3 or 4 or 5, or hopefully not, but maybe 5 or 6 years that you spend studying for the program, but actually for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years of your life, that you're a regular adult in the world. I passed all the exams and I celebrated it for a little while. And then actually, if you go way back on my YouTube channel and watch the video that I posted like 3 days or 4 days after I got the pass result for the level 3 exam, one of my immediate reactions was sort of like, well, now what? Because you spent so much time focused towards this one goal. And this is probably true for anyone who accomplishes a big goal in life. Once you've achieved it, yes, you need to now apply this information to your professional career to hopefully benefit clients and the firm you work, and then in turn yourself with progression and more money and all that. But you also kind of wonder about yourself, like, now, how do I grow academically past this? Because is there anything past the CFA? At least in the career of finance, the answer is typically no, unless you're doing some huge case project for a private equity fund or something like that. And what that does to you in your life is that it makes you feel like you're wasting a ton of time. Any time in the future that isn't spent aggressively working towards some additional goal that you might have feels like a waste, because for 3 or 4 years it really was a waste. You really probably should have been studying with all those free minutes to improve your chances of passing a test. And even though you know that there's no more upcoming tests, at least not CFA exams, the feeling still exists in your mind. It's like, boy, am I being lazy. Boy, am I wasting time by watching TV or playing video games with my friends, or maybe even just going on a walk. It's like, isn't there something else I should be doing? And that really feels like a little bit of a curse. Now, I'm speaking from my own experience here, of course. Maybe your situation will be different, or maybe it is different. Maybe you're someone who is a charter holder now and you didn't suffer from the post-CFA lack of efficiency depression or something like that. But I have heard and read several other posts on Analyst Forum or other threads online of charter holders who have shared the same thing. This is sort of a common theme. You're cursed with this lifelong need for efficiency, and that's manifested for a few ways in my life. This YouTube channel is one of those. I spend maybe 3 nights, sometimes 4 nights a week working on this YouTube channel, where even though it's certainly not as academically rigorous as the CFA program, I feel like I'm working towards some ultimate goal. currently at like 22,000 subscribers. Please hit the subscribe button, tell your friends to subscribe. Let's get this thing to 100,000. That would be crazy to me to have a YouTube channel with 100,000 followers. But anyway, that's one manifestation. I've also started to read more books, and not all the time just because I'm interested in them. Honestly, sometimes it's just like, wow, I should be learning something. I should be doing something that other people on the internet say is beneficial. And a lot of times people say you should read a lot of books.
Hey, how I read 52 books this year.
You know, those types of things. So I'll read books. They're sometimes interesting, sometimes uninteresting, but it's another thing that makes me feel like I'm being efficient and useful with my time. For me, it's parenting kids. That's really a big one because it's also more of a selfless pursuit of future growth. You're no longer working towards your own life and your own future academic growth, but you can instill principles and knowledge into your kids if you're a parent that you know will benefit them academically and socially and emotionally in the future. And so that can be really cool. And all these things are good. So you might gather through the theme of this video that the worst part of the CFA program, being this curse towards efficiency and progression in life, is also a positive. You may pick up on that. And I would argue that it is still more of a positive than a negative. I'd rather be 80 years old looking back at my life, having had become a CFA charter holder and been cursed with this need for efficiency, and have accomplished a lot more in my evenings and weekends and other free time, rather than if I had never gone through the program and I literally just watched football and soap operas with every single extra hour in my life, like a lot of Americans sort of end up doing. It is a better alternative to have been cursed by the CFA exams. But the fact still remains that you can't relax all that well, at least not all that often. And I have to believe that this can be even worse for other people than me, because I'm not someone who manifests much of my identity of self in my job and my career and my profession. It's certainly something I do. I enjoy it. I'm proud of it. I actually think I like my job more than the vast majority of people on the earth, and I'm lucky to have the job I have. But I don't feel like it's who I am. When I think about myself, AJ Cermak, I don't think about my career. I think about my connections and the things I believe in, my thoughts and the things that matter to me. My job being one of those, but there being maybe 9 others that I would sort of identify or define myself by. One sign of this that I see a lot from people in the comments on my videos, and this is just my opinion, is, hey, now that I'm done with the CFA program, I need to learn to code. Which language should I code in? And people will respond to that and be like, Python. And there's threads about, how do I learn Python after the CFA exam? And not that there's anything wrong with Python or coding or how artificial intelligence will affect the financial industry in the future, but I still sort of wonder, like, why do you want to learn Python? Are you interested in coding? Does it apply to your job or your world? Are you trying to break into a field where you're going to need how to code? My opinion, my feeling, and I could be wrong, but my feeling is that the answer to those questions for most CFA charter holders is no. They don't really care about coding. They're not coders. They didn't study computer science. They're probably in a job that is more relations based, as many finance careers are, and not so much technical coding skills based. I sort of view this big push that some charter holders have towards Python as a need for a feeling of advancement in their life. They're cursed by this eternal requirement of efficiency, and they have no way to sort of relax or enjoy other hobbies. If you really like coding, by all means, learn Python. It can be beneficial, but not everyone needs to learn how to code, and I don't want to know how Python works. You probably don't either, but you might be doing it just because of what I'm talking about in this video. You're cursed. You feel like you always have to be advancing towards something in your evenings, in your weekends, in your free time, and maybe you don't. Maybe you should just chill out a little bit. Consider it. I'm telling you all this just to illustrate the fact that if you're someone who does find a lot of your sense of self, find a lot of your identity in your career, and then you go through this same progression of always advancing in your free time in something that could be beneficial to your career, when that goes away, you might actually start to have a little bit of an identity crisis. You might really start to feel like you're falling behind or not even living up to, or not even being yourself, because if your identity of self is career progression and you were doing a lot of that sort of career progression with CFA studying and now you're not doing it, you could have, I don't know, really felt disconnected from your own sense of reality. And so that would be especially problematic that's why I say I feel like some others might even suffer from this more than I do. I still can play video games. I still can hang out at my friend's house and watch March Madness basketball for 2 days and not worry too much about the time that I wasted, doing those recreational things. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me at all. It's still a lingering thought that, man, I just went 2 days and I didn't really progress all that much in life. I didn't do anything that was too beneficial to my future. And those negative feelings are what make it sort of impossible to relax, as I described it earlier. And relaxing can be a good thing. It relieves stress. It helps you disconnect from situations you may not want to be involved in. So you don't want to relax too much. That's laziness, and that can breed itself into more laziness and depression and terrible things that don't result in any amount of lifetime advancement. But you want to be able to relax a little bit, and maybe I'm somewhere near the perfect balance of that. I don't have it all figured out, but I'm cursed by the program, and that makes me progress towards things, other avenues in life. I mentioned YouTube, books, my kids, learning in other areas, religion. I try to grow in my faith all the time. And I still do have some ability to relax and play video games on Friday and Saturday nights, which I try to do when I can with my friends. So there's a balance somewhere. I don't have it quite perfect, but I'm getting closer. I just know that other people, not that I'm better than other people, but other people may have a more difficult time in finding that balance. There's certainly the people who are way too relaxed all the time, and that breeds laziness. And then there's the people who this video is sort of directed towards. Maybe you went through the CFA program, you find a lot of your personal identity in those 3 letters, or in your job as a financial analyst. And so once you're past that, it's sort of like, wow, what do I do with my time now? Or maybe a deeper interpretation of that is like, who am I now that I'm not studying all the time? And that would be the other side of the spectrum. That's certainly not a healthy balance between progression and relaxation. So you need to work towards finding that. And I think the only way you can work towards it is by forcing yourself to relax a little bit. I have found myself in situations where I'm like, okay, I need to just not worry about how the next 4 hours could, advance my 85-year life or however long I'm gonna live. Maybe I'm gonna live to be like 200 because they're gonna be able to put my brain in a microchip. Or maybe, I guess in that case, I'd live to be infinity. I don't know if I'd like that. Anyway, the point is, there have been cases where even though I am someone who does okay with being a lazy slob, because of this curse, I don't wanna do it all that often. Since I am sort of that personality type, I can have an easier time when I've had to force myself to just not worry about the next 4 hours. People who are incapable of being a lazy slob, like I certainly am sometimes, and really just want to progress in their career all the time, they're gonna have to work harder at forcing themselves. They're gonna have to work harder than I did in not worrying about the next 4 hours and just doing something that either relaxes them or they find sort of entertaining and enjoyable. So I don't know, maybe the whole topic seems a little bit artificial. I don't want to blow it out of proportions, but I do honestly feel like there's so much good that comes from the CFA program that this is probably the worst thing that can come from it, is the inability to relax and the constant need for efficiency. There are more positives than negatives from that relentless need for efficiency, but the negatives exist and they're worth talking about. So let me know in the comments down below, do you suffer from any of these needs for efficiency? Is there a different way that you sort of think about what I'm describing here? And if so, how have you tried to overcome it in your own life? Are you able to overcome it? Are you not able to overcome it? Anyway, like this video, let me know in the comments down below if you want to see any more content like this in the future. And as always, thanks for watching.